What's up, everybody? Welcome back inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for another practice report presented by Byers Auto, driven by Byers Auto. You all know that guy. That's the 40-year vet Tim May in all his glory. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Tim, a lot to break down here. I don't even know really where to begin. There was actually so much going on that CJ Stroud spoke, and I was trying to talk to a couple other players and other personnel walking off the field. I didn't hear a single thing CJ Stroud said. That's how much was going on inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Wednesday night as Ohio State prepares, number 2 Ohio State, prepares to take on unranked and 3-3 Iowa in the Horseshoe on Saturday at noon, Tim. Again, a lot to get to. Let's try to unwrap a little bit of this and, in this 10 to 15 minutes.
Well, to me, one of the interesting things was while we were interviewing, you could see Jackson Smith-Njigba in uniform. He was over catching balls off the jugs machine. Couldn't miss him. I asked Marvin Harrison Jr. if Jackson has been practicing this week or the last couple of days. He goes, yeah, but he didn't go any more in depth in it than that. So the mystery surrounding the enigma surrounding Jackson Smith-Njigba still continues. I think there's a much better shot of seeing him Saturday than maybe I thought there would have been 2 weeks ago. By Saturday, I mean against Iowa. But I think his return is imminent, whether it's this week or next week. We'll see. But of course, I'm doing a little story for later this week is when he does return, what does that mean? I mean, to this wide receiver core, and as Marvin Harrison Jr. said, it presents. I'm paraphrasing. It presents quite a dilemma for a defensive coordinator when you can put 4 of those guys on the field at the same time, and of course, I'm including Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming. And I asked CJ Stroud the same thing, and CJ's point was, you play with who you got. I mean, I'm paraphrasing him too. He didn't act like it was going to be that everybody's going to step back, and go, oh no, they've got all these guys. What are we going to do? They've played against competent personnel this year who've really tried to take them on pretty straight up for the most part, with the exception of one team, as he said, and he laughed about that one. They just tried to keep everything in front of them.
Yep.
But then past that, I think we're all interested to finally see that day again when Jackson Smith-Njigba can play. Whether it's this week or not is still to be determined.
The quote from Marvin Harrison Jr., I have to get it correct because it's one of my favorite quotes of the year now. It goes automatically.
Me for asking the question.
It goes automatically to the top. This is from Tim May's question to Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know what you do as a defensive coordinator. You got to pick one and say your prayers.
Yeah.
And then he went on to say, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's a confident guy, Tim, and he knows the impact Jackson Smith-Njigba can have. But
that's like, you and I've been talking about this. Like my best analogy for something like that is, I'm talking about if he does come back. That's like saying the sun is hot. They're going to have a lot of capable personnel in the field, and one of the silver linings of him missing has been, we all knew these guys were good, Julian Fleming, Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., but to see them bloom and flourish, he is exactly right. I mean, don't soft pedal it, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
Tim, beyond Jackson Smith-Njigba catching passes, I think one of the even bigger stories, because we've already seen this offense thrive even without Jackson Smith-Njigba.
That's my point.
To get him back would be a bonus.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the person I saw out here taking reps and going almost full speed was Jordan Hancock, who was doing some turn and run, who was doing some man coverage drills, just light stuff. But still, to see him in the pads, we haven't seen him like that since training camp. See him in pads with the helmet on, going through some things after practice. Observations said way more than the words out here tonight.
Yeah.
And there was a lot said over there with DeJuan Jones, with Luke Whippler, CJ Stroud, a lot of defenders talking about Iowa. But the things we saw out here said way more than the words said at the tables. If Jordan Hancock's back, I think that changes the dynamic of this defense, because I think he can add another option at cornerback. We saw Cameron Brown struggle against Michigan State. What did Ohio State do? They turned to J.K. Johnson to come in and maybe try to talk a little bit to Cameron Brown on the sidelines. You might see Jordan Hancock entered there when he's back.
He's back.
To see him out on the field, I'm not saying he's going to be back this week. I don't even expect that. But to see him on the field and doing some drills is a very promising sign for this defense, Tim.
Yeah.
Because, having Jackson Smith-Njigba back, an added bonus for the offense. Having Jordan Hancock back at full strength could be a deciding bonus for this defense because of the hype that surrounded him in training camp.
Yeah, I would think, Jackson's return is more imminent than Jordan Hancock's.
I agree.
Just based on what I've heard and reading the tea leaves and things like that.
I agree.
Obviously, Saturday will tell the tale. Next Saturday, definitely the trip to Happy Valley will tell the tale for sure. But no, you're exactly right. I mean, the one area you're concerned about this football team from a depth standpoint, other than at running back, with only when they started the preseason camp, they had 4 scholarship guys, and it immediately went to 3 when Evan Pryor got hurt. So Dallin Hayden coming on as he has as a freshman to upgrade the depth in that room has been huge the last couple of weeks. But the other position was cornerback from a proven standpoint. Obviously, they had 2 starters back in Cam Brown and Denzel Burke, and then they were all banged up during preseason camp at certain points. Clearly weren't as honed as they would like to have been going into the year. And then you see Jordan Hancock immediately go down in preseason camp. We were all writing raving review stories of Jordan Hancock, and everybody talked about how good he was looking, how well he was playing, and then to see that rug pulled out from under him. And we all know the fire drill they went through trying to get guys ready to play cornerback. But you're exactly right. J.K. Johnson and then Jair Brown, the way he came on to give them a start at cornerback in the Wisconsin game. I mean, as you look back on it, that's valuable as hell. But as you look forward, you hope you don't have to do that a lot.
No. And so, that was the other side of the field. Now let's go across the field, as Ohio State likes to do. A little bit of a pun on my part, pun intended fully.
Well, they've got 3 or 4 fight songs, so pick your fight song.
Yeah, and pick your poison with this offense, Tim. We learned a lot about the wide receivers and their mentality. Talked to, like I said, Marvin Harrison Jr., that quote was gold. Talked to Julian Fleming about his progression. I asked him if this feels like high school again because of the way that he's been able to catch touchdowns in every game he's played this year. He said, no, it's not quite like high school, but it is kind of fun. It is a pick your poison game, but it's also a pick your poison when it comes to trying to prod and poke into this offensive line. It's not an easy task for Iowa ahead of it, not only to defend Ohio State, but to get pressure on C.J. Stroud. I take away from this that Luke Whippler and DeJuan Jones are feeling much more confident at this point in the year, at the bye week, the off week, the idle week, whatever we want to call it, at this point this year than they were last year. This offensive line is playing with a purpose. It's playing really well. It's a credit to Justin Fry. It's a credit to the 5 guys up front. And this Iowa defense is really, really good, Tim, but it's really hard to see a path for Iowa to slow down what Ohio State's going to throw at them on Saturday. And we saw Exhibit A of that on full display here at the 15-yard line.
They're going to try to get a 3 and out, and then they're going to try to get another 3 and out. I mean, that's going to be their quest, their vision quest for this game. I'm talking about defensively, Iowa, to somehow or another throw Ohio State off rhythm, off track. And whether that can be done remains to be seen. That means, Ohio State has had so many drives this year, and you and I have witnessed them, where they didn't get the 3rd down on any of the resets.
No.
They didn't get the 3rd down. Maybe a couple where they only got the 1 3rd down. It's tough to get this offense off the field. We've talked about it ad nauseum almost, but it's not really. It's the opposite of nausea. It's the euphoric feeling you have to have when you kind of watch this offense operate and all of the options it has.
Yes.
And if you get 1 or 2 more options back, like Mayan Williams, I'm not sure really about his status as we stand here right now for Saturday. We'll see how that goes.
I'm more pessimistic about Mayan Williams than I was at this point last week.
But the point is, just the options that are available to Ryan Day and C.J. Stroud in a play calling and play execution standpoint are remarkable. That is definitely Iowa's dilemma going into this, because they're averaging 238.7 yards per game. I think I've got that memorized correctly. It's probably wrong because I'm 68.
No, you're exactly right.
But they're 131st in the nation in total offense. It's hard to believe against this revamped and psyched and champing at the bit defense that is Ohio State's, and they are. They want to really have that consummate game somewhere down the line here, where they put it all together, no gaffes. It's really hard to see Iowa, like you said, staying with this team, but its only chance is to somehow or another cause C.J. Stroud fits. We'll see if that can happen.
So, like I said, Tim.
Back up to you in the booth.
Like I said, a lot to learn. We can't begin to cover it all. That's why we've got LettermenRow.com as a platform. Make sure you check that out for $1 for the entire year right now. All of Tim's coverage.
Yeah, and one other quickie I'm throw in there because one of the things that obviously Rodney Hickman and Lathan Ransom, we got to talk to them tonight. One of the concerns about of dealing with this offense is their use of the tight end, and the key is somebody's got to cover him, somebody's got to knock down balls. But we saw even in the Notre Dame game, when you rely on your tight end as your number one dude offensively, you might get 10 or 12 or 15 points, but you're not going to stay up with an Ohio State offense that's clicking the way this one is.
The difference, Tim, the difference is I know that the Notre Dame skill players weren't fabulous, but at least Notre Dame had
I'm leaving some things unsaid.
A Lorenzo Styles. Iowa simply does not. And like I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything this week because the Iowa offense is bad enough to not sugarcoat it. If you want to read about that, I wrote a story about the Iowa offense and the Ohio State defense's challenges today.
Yeah.
LettermenRow.com. You can read $1 for that story and the entire year's worth of coverage. That's a hell of a deal, Tim.
Yes.
We'll be talking about on the message board, the Lettermen Lounge. Matt Parker will have the recruiting angles covered as Ohio State and Iowa kick off on Saturday at noon. The first nooner of the year for Ohio State. It's kind of a weird time to be coming, but it's a lot of fun. Oh, is it the second one? It's the second. Okay, wow. I'm wrong. Sometimes even I'm wrong. But we'll get out of here on that note, Tim. That's Tim May, the 40-year vet.
You admit that.
Wow. All right. We're really getting out of here now. That's Tim May, the 40-year vet. I'm Spencer Holbrook. This has been another practice report presented by Byers Auto. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on Friday for bold predictions and 4 downs.